Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about proportions. So I'll define what proportions are and then we'll work out two examples of proportions using two different methods. So what are proportions? Proportions are mathematical statements that state that two ratios or rates are equal. And in its notation format, at first, it'll be something like this. A over B equals C over D. Another way to say this proportion is A is to B as C is to D. Now, as far as solving proportions goes, we have two approaches. We can use the multiplication property of equality, and we can also use what are called cross products. And sometimes cross products are the more go-to approach, depending on how complex your proportions look. For this first example, we can use the multiplication property of equality, and here's how we do that. We can eliminate fractions by noticing that 9 and 6 both share a common multiple, and that multiple is 18. If I multiply that to both fractions, remember this is the same thing as multiplying by 18 over 1. 18 times t over 1 times 9, so that's 18t over 9, which when it's in simplest form becomes 2t. 5 times 18, that's 90. 90 divided by 6, that gives me 15. When you divide this out, t is equal to 7.5. So the other method that I mentioned earlier was using what are called cross products. For proportions, how you would do that is multiply the numerator of one proportion by the denominator of the other, and you would set that equal to the product of the other numerator to the other denominator. So what that would look like would be this. Get rid of all that for just a moment. T times 6, so it would be 6t equal to 9 times 5, or 45. Dividing this out will still give me that same number, 7.5. Either approach is correct. Usually the go-to is cross products because sometimes your proportions can get a little funky looking, kind of like this one. By default, I will go to using cross products. So we'll multiply this numerator by that denominator, and then this numerator by that denominator. It makes that little cross motion. So we'll have 7 times x plus 4 equal to 5 times x minus 2. Now we distribute. This gives me 7x plus 28 equals 5x minus 10. Subtract 5x, I would do that preferably because I like my coefficients being positive most of the time, so I'll do that. This gives me 2x plus 28 equals negative 10. Now we subtract 28. I'll come up here for this next step. That gives me 2x equals negative 38. Dividing by 2 for the final step and that gives me x equal to negative 19. So cross products typically are a little bit more work, this one in particular, but again, it just depends on how it's set up. For that last one, it was a little bit easier because all we had were just numbers or our missing number, which in this case was 7.5. Versus here, where you've got expressions in either the numerator or denominator. In this case, they were both in the numerator, but solve them, cross product, distribute, and then solve it like a regular linear equation. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.